Hey there, stranger.
Hi, Lucas.
Except you haven't really been a stranger. I've seen you like pretty much every day, except when you went on a small vacation. But we have been strangers to our friends at United Sessions, and here we are back for another amazing Monday. How are you?
I'm thrilled. I'm happy to be back. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for our guests tonight. We've got 1 week left in the season. We've got 1 week left before the election. It's a busy, important week, and excited to talk to Representative Javier Martinez about a couple of those things and a lot more.
It's gonna be amazing. From early on, he's been a great friend of the team. He's been at a lot of our different things. I remember we recognized him for an award he rightfully won back in 2019, and from then he's always just been around, and he's been an advocate not only for our soccer team but for all of us as New Mexicans. Thrilled to talk to him. Thrilled to hear about his journey. Thrilled about how he got into all of this. What I'm not thrilled about, Dave, is the result on Saturday.
Yeah, not a great match. 2-0 loss to RGV in a match that would have clinched us a playoff spot right then and there. When you really take time to think about it, you got to remember we were down 7 players, right? 5 to injury, which is crazy. 7 players, 5 to injury, 2 of them to yellow card accumulation. So you'd expect those 2 players to be back. That's Juan Guzman and Josh Suggs for the next match coming up on Saturday. The 5 players due to injury, we don't know. Some of them we know are out for the season, like Devin, Amando. But we don't know about David Najum or Sam Hamilton, things like that. So hoping those guys get healthy, hoping those guys are taking care of themselves more so than anything. But Saturday is going to be crucial, really crucial. We need a win, and we need some help from RGV dropping some points either Wednesday or Saturday.
Right, and here's the thing about New Mexico United: we never do it in a non-interesting way. It is always the most compelling, most dramatic, most have you on the edge of your seat until the very end. And it looks like 2021 is going to be the exact same. You're right about Saturday. Lots to be excited about that. If we can be kind of promo-y for a second as it comes to that, we are doing a Dia de los Muertos, and I think it's really, really important that we use this platform to sort of distinguish what that means, right? This is not come out as Spooky Skeleton Night or Halloween night or anything like that. It is a day of remembrance and a day of celebrating those that are no longer with us. One of the cool things the team put out on the social accounts today is we're actually putting together a digital ofrenda for the event. So if you have pictures of loved ones, just go and check out the social pages. You can see instructions on how to share that. And we'll actually use that in lieu of the B-roll we traditionally use in the stadium. So I think it's going to be a super duper magical night, capped off with an incredibly important match.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm really looking forward to Dia de los Muertos. It's going to be important. It's going to be, there's going to be this awesome, great flag that's going to be given out to the first 5,000 people into the stands. And then the match itself, right? I mean, it's a must win, like you said, and I'm thinking it's going to be a sellout. That's going to be an exciting atmosphere. It's going to be a wonderful atmosphere, an intense atmosphere. We're going to want everybody there. So do get your tickets ASAP to make sure you're in the stadium for that. It's going to be a heck of a Saturday.
You're going to do something special on Saturday. I don't want to spoil it if you don't want me to spoil it, but it might be a good time to put it out there.
Nah.
You're holding on to it?
Yeah, we're going to hang on to it. But I'm going to be
unlike the decision you made with that mustache, you just unleashed that thing on us.
This is part of the Halloween costume. I promise I would not wear this mustache in mixed company, but here we are. Saturday I'm gonna have a
audience only. Dave's mustache is glorious. That's the only thing I can say. It's the pinnacle of detective mustache meets 80s suave heartthrob. It's really good. You should probably check it out later.
No, you should not. But anyway, let's go ahead and there you go. We should go ahead and get to the next segment where we're going to bring in Representative Javier Martinez. Like I said, we're going to talk stadium. We're going to talk United. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about life. It's going to be great. So make sure you stick around. We'll be right back after this quick break on United Sessions.
¿Listos? Dale. ¿Listo? Dale.
Wow. It feels like a million years ago since we made that video and released it, but that was just a few short months ago. Joining us tonight, Representative Javier Martinez. Thank you so much for taking time. We know you're perpetually busy. You have a probably a lot more important stuff to do than chat with us and hang out with us and listen to silly mustache jokes, but you took time out of your schedule to be with us, and we appreciate it. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. No, it's great to be with you all, and I love the mustache. I for a while during the pandemic last year, I had David Carl mustache, but
well, I'm sure yours was probably much more respectable. And like I said, come November 1st, this thing's going to be shaved right off. It's a Halloween costume, and beyond that, I mean that's going to be it.
Good deal. Well, good to see both of you.
Good to have you on. Well, one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you today, Representative, is just to, we're coming up on Stadium Bond election. It is 1 week from tomorrow, 8 days. It's been a long several months since this was first announced, and you've been an advocate for the project from day one. Or start really broadly, why do you feel this project is important?
This is one of those aspirational quality of life projects that I believe we as the public should pursue, and not just this project. There are projects across the board, across the state, that can have the same type of impact. Notwithstanding the investments that we continue to make and that we have to continue to make in things like water, housing, healthcare, you name it. But there are also these nuggets, if you will, of things that our community wants. We've got to fix the leaky roof in the house, but we should also take the time to paint our children's bedroom the color that they really want. To bring the things into that bedroom that our children, can really embrace. And that's how I see this. Again, we've got to invest in healthcare. We've got to invest in housing. We have been and we will continue to do so. But I think our families also deserve something nice.
Well, and I think coming from you, it's a little different than coming from me or from Peter. Obviously, one, we work for the team, but in addition to that, you're somebody who has advocated and fought for those things throughout your career, right? Whether that is affordable housing or whether that is, fighting crime or whatever that might be. These are things that have been important to you throughout your career. And so for you as somebody who has made those priorities to come out in support of the stadium, I think says something really different. Can you talk a little bit about kind of not this either or mentality that we sometimes as New Mexicans have, but switching to that both and mentality?
Well, look, my entire career in the legislature, I was elected in 2015. My focus has been early childhood education. I believe, and David, in your previous life as a reporter, I think I did a couple of interviews with you about this. I believe that unless we invest in New Mexico's children in a substantive and transformative way, we are not going to be able to undo the generational trauma, the generational poverty that we've been fighting against for years. Some would argue for hundreds of years. That's why I fought so hard to make sure that we have access to universal pre-K, universal childcare, universal home visiting programs for infants. Just this year alone, Representative Maestas, Representative Thompson, and myself spearheaded the land grant constitutional amendment that will take 1% of New Mexico's land grant permanent fund, which is one of the largest in the world, and invest it in quality early childhood programming that is centered around children's cultural values, linguistic traditions, etc. Those are the types of transformative investments that folks like me have been fighting for my entire time in the legislature. So to me, it is not either or. We've got to do both. And we have the ability to do both, especially right now because we have, we have an economy that is on the rebound. Notwithstanding all of the things that need to be taken care of, things like gentrification are very real, as we know. Housing is in dire shortage right now. We've got to address that, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. At least that's my philosophy. That's my position. And look, whatever happens on Tuesday, we're going to keep fighting to make sure that children have every opportunity to thrive in the state with education, healthcare, housing, and everything else that they need. No matter what happens on election day, that's always been my philosophy. Win or lose at the election box, the work continues.
Representative, I can't stress how important your perspective of being an advocate for children above all else is. I think what we've seen in a lot of social media comments, which aren't always the deepest wells of engagement and listening to the other side, but we've seen this attempt to pit the stadium against the best interests of children, the best interests of New Mexicans. And I know you've touched on it briefly, but I loved the analogy that you had of painting your kid's room the color that they want it to be. Like, how much benefit does us taking this step towards creating a better community and a community that we all love, how important is that for the overall growth trajectory of Albuquerque?
Well, we as a city, we as a state have to decide how we're going to grow. I've been a staunch advocate of smart growth policies. I've staunchly opposed urban sprawl, even before my time in the legislature. I've got to say, I come to the legislature by way of community organizing. In fact, my day job is still in that space. So I understand how to engage community, and I understand how to ensure that communities' voices are heard. And not only that, but that community has a seat at the table. Uh, for the better part of 20 years, my work has taken me to virtually every neighborhood in the downtown corridor. And I've fought hard against sprawl development, because sprawl development, what it does is it creates these situations where resources that are very limited are spread out, whether it's money, whether it's water, whatever the case might be. Now, the alternative to urban sprawl is what we call infill, right? And that is building housing in the urban core, reinvesting in the urban core, bringing commercial development into the urban core. I see this as a sports multi-use art facility that can come in and help spur other development. It's not the silver bullet. I would never say that a stadium is going to fix all our problems. Not at all, not even close to it. But it is part of a much bigger picture. And so, as a city, we've got to make a decision. Do we want to grow toward the west side uncontrollably? We've got plenty of land on that side, and quite frankly, it's the only way to grow. Or do we want to invest in our inner core of the city? And I, for one, choose to invest in the inner core. It doesn't mean we can't continue to grow a little bit out toward the west side. I mean, that's needed, and as population grows, we'll have to do that. But it can be done in a smart way, in a strategic way, without leaving our urban core behind, which is really the fear many of us have had over the years. If you grow uncontrollably toward the west side, how do you invest in our historic neighborhoods? That's a real problem, and that's something that I'm going to continue to fight for.
Well, and I think that's crucial coming from you. You're the representative in Barelas and in a couple of these downtown neighborhoods. And you're advocating for having it, again, potentially downtown, wherever that may be, whether that is Barelas or South Broadway or something to that effect. It's so crucial to invest in kind of what downtown can be. And I guess what it was, downtown was a center for the city for a long time, and that's no longer the case. And I think it's really important to point out, and maybe you want to talk about this a little bit, this isn't just a stadium, right? We talked about the fact that it's going to be multi-use, but in addition to that, the goal is to improve the local businesses and improve, I guess, attendance at those local businesses and patronage of those local businesses that are already there. And in addition to that, to bring in additional business to those downtown areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't know how many folks know this on this call, but downtown lost what I would call the last remaining family entertainment venue it had, and that's the movie theater. It shut down last weekend. It's a real blow to downtown. Folks like me with young families oftentimes would either drive, more often than not, ride our bikes into downtown, catch a movie, catch dinner, walk up and down, ride our bikes back home. For people with young families, there's not much to do now that the movie theater's closed. Now, granted, during COVID, there was not much to do for anyone, but COVID aside, and that movie theater gone, there's not a whole lot left. There's bars, nightclubs, a few restaurants that are open during the day if you happen to work down in that area, but there's nothing more than that. I see this facility as a multi-use facility that can help not only spur the typical bar restaurant scene that surrounds, these types of projects. But more than that, I hope to see art galleries, art exhibits, spaces for live music, spaces where we can congregate on non-game days. I love the idea of this being an open space that all of us can walk through in the middle of the day, just the way we would a park. There's no reason why it needs to be gated off, 300 days out of the year, like Isotopes Park is actually. So I see this as something that could really be beneficial, not only to the community, but that can spur the type of creative ingenuity that we know, Burqueños have, because we see it every single day out in our community. You look at something like the Rail Yards Market, which, quite frankly, is such a good idea, and I can't believe it took us so long to come up with it. But to the folks in Barelas who came up with it, golly, that's an amazing idea. Now it's a destination every weekend during the season. The downtown farmers market, it's a lot more than a farmers market. If you've ever been there on a Saturday morning, I mean, you can spend an entire day there and eat breakfast, lunch, see some art, listen to some music, do a little grocery shopping, people watch. I mean, you name it, it happens. That's on the western end of downtown. Imagine if we had this down on the eastern end of downtown, the type of growth that it would spur. So I absolutely see this as a space where we can actually create. And this goes beyond just a soccer game, a soccer team, an ownership team, and whatever else. I think that the benefits of this could really be felt above and beyond the game of soccer, and above and beyond, the 200 plus jobs that the team is gonna create.
Javier, I'm sorry, Representative, you're doing something very important right now, which is dreaming. And that's something we've invited folks to do in the conversation. When you kind of get away from the discourse around, should we be using the funds for this? And you really got to the point that you're at right there. You're dreaming, you're imagining, you're seeing the better future. And I think on top of that, that's what your kids are going to do, because you're going to be talking with them about it and you're going to be painting that picture for them. And I think that's the part that I think a lot of people didn't get to be a part of, in terms of how they approached this topic, right? They didn't come at it from a place of like, how beautiful could it be? And I think there's an important point to be had in that as it relates to progress and future and where we want to be as a state.
Yeah, look, you cannot be an organizer, you cannot be a politician if you're not willing to take risk, if you're not willing to dream the big dreams. And I refuse to let cynicism get in the way of those dreams. Now, I've made this clear, and I'll make it clear here on your podcast. I would never support anything, whether it's policy or funding or whatnot, that would be detrimental to not only to the neighborhoods that I represent, but to any neighborhood across the state. That's just in my moral fabric. And you could look at my vote record and see time and time again where I've taken hard no votes on things that I didn't feel would benefit our community. This project, I believe, will be beneficial, not because it's a soccer stadium, not because it's New Mexico United, even though I love you guys, but because it's a project that can be developed not only in collaboration with, but with the community leading the project. And that's the thing that we've got to remember. Win or lose on November 2nd, the fact of the matter is the community in Barelas has been able to do something that I don't think any other neighborhood has been able to do. And that is lead a development project virtually on their own, saying, here are the list of demands. Here's what we want. Here's what we need before we can even talk. And that is a sign of a very, very sophisticated community that is not going to let any developer, I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's Walmart or NM United, it's not going to allow any developer to come in and dictate the terms of the development. That to me is the win, and I'm so damn proud of the folks there in Barelas for what they've accomplished. I think it's going to be a blueprint for any development in any part of the state moving forward. And that's exciting. That's an exciting outcome, I think, over the course past several months.
And I think that's so crucial because in most development, like you said there, whether it's I don't know whether it's a Walmart or anything else, citizens don't typically have that much of a say in how these things work, whether that be through their vote or more specifically through these conversations. You know, we're the first pro sports team in America to ever agree to something that requires a community benefits agreement before a site can be selected. How crucial is it in your mind for these communities, again, whether it's Barelas or somewhere else, for them to have the ability to say either, no, we don't want it here, or yes, we want it here, and these are the conditions that are required for us to say yes?
Well, it's pretty darn impressive. And look, you just nailed it on the head. Regardless of where this thing is built, you know, whatever neighborhood that might be, they're going to be bound by the process, and that is a huge win for any neighborhood. Thanks to the folks in Barelas. But I also have to give you all a whole lot of credit because at the end of the day, you were willing to sit at the table as well. You were willing to sit at the community's table. You didn't show up with your own table. You showed up and sat at their table, at their invitation. And that is something that you all should feel very proud of. Look, I say this time and time again. I'm probably, full disclosure, I'm a bigger baseball fan than a soccer fan. Um, uh, it is what it is. But I cannot tell you anything about the isotopes. I don't know who owns the isotopes. I don't know what kind of commitment they have to this community. Um, no knock on the isotopes, but I don't know much else other than I go to a few games every year. With this team, I feel like I know your entire history. I know where you've been. I know where you've headed. You have been open and transparent about your intentions with the team, both the men's and the women's teams, with the developmental leagues that you're a part of, with the young people here in the state, with the fact that soccer is a lot more than just the 11 players on the field, but it's everybody in between. It's the folks doing the marketing and the folks doing nutrition and the health staff and the groundskeepers and everybody, right? Um, I think that you all deserve a great deal of credit for the CBA, for how far we've come in this debate, and hopefully, for this multi-use facility eventually, if it doesn't happen on Tuesday, hopefully it happens at some point in the future.
All right. So let's say I am an advocate for the stadium. I support the stadium. I like the idea. I've got 8 days. What can I do to be supportive? Obviously, I can go vote, but what more can I do as far as, making sure that I do what I can to make sure this thing passes?
Well, look, I mean, I think, yeah, you're right. We all have to go out and vote, and not just because of the stadium, but everybody has to go vote every single election. We've got a mayoral race that is very darn important. A lot is riding on that race. And not just on the three candidates, but really, the runoff, right? If you're sick of campaign commercials, then you might as well put this to rest on November 2nd and not extend it by a month. But even more importantly, we have a number of city council races. We have incumbents that are retiring. The APS board, every single incumbent, I think 4 of the seats, every incumbent in that seat is retiring. So we will be electing brand new school board members. And remember that school board is where the new culture wars are being waged with regard to the rights of trans students, with regard to critical race theory and all these other things. That's where the fight is being fought now. So people have to go out and vote. Every single thing on that ballot, you've got to fill it in, and you've got to get your neighbors, your family members, your coworkers to vote. That's the only way that we can really push, our vision and execute our vision. President Obama had a fabulous speech this weekend in Virginia where, he was trying to move people away from that cynicism. My vote doesn't count. Why should I show up? Why should I show up? Last time I voted, I didn't get everything I wanted. The politician promised a lot and he only delivered a little. And Obama said something to the effect of, look, things are a little better now than they were before you voted for the guy, right? Under Obama, does everybody have health care? No, but a whole lot more people have health care, right? Under this president, President Biden, you know, look at the last 9, 10 months of progress as compared to the previous 4 years. And not to get partisan on you guys here, but when people don't vote, bad things happen. And so I'm imploring all of your viewers, I'm sure you have a lot of viewers who maybe are not very regular voters, maybe, and maybe this issue of stadium is going to get them out to vote. Please vote for all of the questions on the ballot, not just that one. Vote for the other bond questions on the ballot that are equally important, right? We've got to make our voices heard. Voting is contagious. Think back to 2008. I mean, I think everybody on this Zoom call voted in 2008, even if you hadn't voted before then, because something just sparked. I'm asking you all, make a call, get your neighbor out there, give your neighbor a ride to the polls. You'd be surprised at how many folks who are homebound and, for one reason or another, they can't get their absentee ballot and they can't get themselves to the polls. Get them out to the polls, make sure their voices are heard.
Amen. Amen to that. So switching gears a little bit, you yourself, you mentioned you're more of a baseball fan, but you are a soccer fan too. Where did you find that love of the game? Was it through United, or were you a fan prior to United?
No, I was a fan prior to that. I grew up part of my life in Juarez, and every other league has relegation. MLS doesn't.
Yeah.
Juarez, for a brief period of time in the late 80s, had a team that made it to the Pro League. It was Cobras de Ciudad Juarez. And I have a vivid memory of my uncle taking me to a game. And that team had this fantastic player from Juarez. He was our local boy. And they gave, Chivas and America and all those big teams a run for their money. So I've been hooked ever since as a fan. I never played, just as a fan. Then years later, Juarez had another pro team that actually surprised a lot of people and made it to the semifinals of the Mexican tournament. This is back in 2008, 2009, and that only solidified my love for the game. I was a big fan of the Sol, started by Lencho and Ron. Over at St. Pius when they would play their games there. I've got a Albuquerque Sol jersey. It's vintage. I'm gonna frame it one of these days. And then when you all announced that you were coming, I mean, to me, soccer just has this magical ability to bring people together. And I'll share a quick story with you if you don't mind. During that first season, it was a Friday night game. I took my kids, we got lawn seats, and it was packed. I mean, it was so packed we couldn't even sit in the lawn because we got there a little late. So we're just kind of walking around the stadium. And at some point, I decided to stand right behind where home plate is on one of the standing tables, and my kids were just sitting. This is pre-COVID, so, no precautions at all. My kids were just sitting on the floor eating cotton candy. And I was there. I ran into a few organizer friends in the immigrant rights and environmental justice movement. And there was 4 of them together. And, we were all drinking, I don't know, whatever craft beer they sell there, probably Marble or something like that. And then at some point, I see 4 young people, 2 African Americans, 2 white folks, high schoolers maybe, walking together, also watching the game, drinking a soda. And then right in front of them were these 3 Mexicano construction workers. Their pants had cement on them. They had work boots. They were drinking a beer, watching the game. And I said to myself, my goodness, I've lived here for, 30 plus years. I've never seen at a sporting event, global game, global football, basketball, isotopes, you name it. I've never seen these very diverse groups of people together at once, literally right next to each other, enjoying this one thing, a soccer game. I mean, it was eye-opening for me. And that's when I really began to understand the power that this team, that this concept, it's more than a team, that this concept has here in New Mexico. And ever since, I've been sold on the idea that this is our team. This is the people's team. This is New Mexico United, and it's something that we can feel very, very proud of.
Representative, you've made me emotional twice this evening. That was one of them right there. That was absolutely gorgeous. I remember being in meeting rooms with Peter Trevisani where we were discussing what's the most beautiful picture that could be painted by this organization. And he said almost something in lockstep with what you said right there. And so it's just so moving for that. And then the other piece that got me was just because Dave would never say this about himself, but when you said we made an effort to go and sit at the community's table, I got a little bit choked up because I know that Pete and Dave have strategically done that. Like, here you go, everyone. Get behind the curtain with us if you know what we're doing behind the scenes of our big political machine. It's Dave and Pete just talking about how do we make sure everyone has a voice? How do we make sure everyone has a seat at the table? And how do we make sure people have information? And so for you to say that, it's really, really moving on behalf of my friend and my colleague who's done a lot. Like, and when he says, this is a crazy week in the opening segment, I think he's really underplaying it. Like, he's in the final lap and he's run a heck of a race. I want to talk to you about the point that you were talking about right before I went on that ridiculous soliloquy. But I may have lost it a little bit. Dave, can you jump in there and help me?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Representative, you make really good points, and I think we all relate to, right, when we love this team. I think there's been so many people who weren't soccer fans before United, who had never gotten into the game and then came to a game. Maybe we weren't even sports fans, but came to a game and saw that togetherness, right? Saw that felt that New Mexican pride, frankly. And I think that has hooked so many people. And I think when we created the curse too at the beginning, that was a big part of what we were doing. My background in soccer fandom, as you call it, was when I lived in Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Union came around, and they had the Sons of Ben, which is the supporters group there, and it was great. And I saw some really great things and community impact and all of that. But one of the things that I also saw there was a level of elitism or divisiveness, and I hated that. If you weren't here when the 1984 Philadelphia Fury were around, well, you're not a real soccer fan. And we worked so hard to make sure, like, that's never what we want to do. That's never what we want to be. And so I think that's something that's really important. And the Shield is open for a reason, right? Anybody is welcome to come in at any point. I think that's crucial. Whether Saturday's game is your first game ever or you've never missed a home game, I think that's so crucial, and part of not just who we are as a club, but who we are as a community. Sorry, Lucas, I followed your soliloquy with one of my own.
What's amazing, though, and we promise we'll let you get in here and talk for a little bit, Representative, but apparently you're in our rodeo right now. But you hit exactly what I wanted to say, Dave, which was the idea of the openness of the Shield. And that, I think, is a really, really good way to kind of bring this all together with where we're at with the vote, where we're at with the stadium, and where we're at with this discussion, because I definitely want to play our ridiculous game with the Representative. I think it has some really, really fun boundaries around it, and it's an arena he's used to. But going back to the openness of the Shield, and I don't think this is a betrayal of anyone's confidences, but in a team meeting today, as we're discussing what's going to go on with this whole thing, the point our boss, Peter Trevisani, kept making is no matter what happens on Tuesday, on Wednesday, the Shield is still open. And it's always been open for people to come out, for people to come in. There's not now an invisible barrier that's based off of what someone did on a bonding boat. That the heart and truth of this team and why it has resonated with communities and why we've had such amazing partnership is because it's always going to be open. And I'll give you like the final couple minutes of this segment, Representative, of like how important that approach to becoming a community is. You've built communities, which means you've seen communities become communities. How important is that we let everyone have that seat at the table?
Well, look, the way I've always approached elections, and this is before I started running for office myself, election day is just another piece of the puzzle. Win or lose on election day, the work continues the next day. I once upon a time, my very first political race, I lost it. I lost it by a lot. And I woke up the next day and I got to work. I got to work with the folks who won the election and help them, pursue their vision. years later, I ran for office again, and I won that time. And the next day, we got to work. Right? The election is not the be all, the end all. It's just a little bleep there in the middle that we've got to do. At the end of the day, the work continues. I love what you said about the shield remaining open. I think that that's what this team truly represents. And I think that Wednesday, November 3rd, the day after Election Day, we all get up and we get to work. There's a lot of work to do, and not just with this issue, but with all of the other, sometimes very daunting issues that we're dealing with. But I'll tell you what, we've got the ability, we've got the capacity, we've got the intellect, we've got the corazón, we've got the ganas to get things done. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. I can guarantee you our local and state leadership and federal leadership is ready to get, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Couldn't said it any better. All right, let's go to a quick commercial break. We will be right back with a stupid game that we're going to play with a very smart person, Representative Javier Martinez.
In New Mexico, we know true love, true beauty, true adventure, true color, and true culture. Because we are truly hot, truly unique, truly rich, and truly home to the greatest stories and heroes, caverns and mountains, music and dancing, sunrises and sunsets. Home to the artists, the warriors, and the multi-generational, multiracial, all-inclusive family that we call the United. It's true, the black and yellow. This shield, these people, these scenes. This is New Mexico United. And New Mexico United is New Mexico True.
Not too shabby. Even after the 7 millionth time of seeing it. Who's waving that hand back there, Representative? Do we have a guest?
Iron Man, also known as Camilo.
Camilo. Yeah, well, it's good. He should be here for this part because in designing this game, what I decided that I could not have as a part of this game was logic. See, you work in a sphere where it doesn't matter how logical you're being. You're just going to have people that are going to be mean to you and tell you you're wrong for no reason. Now, we're going to do it with slightly lower stakes, okay? And this game is a little bit convoluted, but I think we'll work it out in the end. It's going to be preferential lists, okay? There's 3 different categories that we're going to go through. You're going to tell us what your top 5 favorite things in that category are. And me and Dave, without any evidence or any reason, are just going to judge you and say whether that's an acceptable answer. So if you get 3 of us to say that's an acceptable answer, good. There's going to be a lot of nonsense in between, probably. I suspect, given me and Dave's relationship, he and I are going to argue about a few of them. But if you're ready, Representative Javier Martinez, let's jump into your top 5 Halloween candies.
Oh my gosh.
And so you give us your top 5, and then we will have to say that 3 of them are correct in order for you to get the point.
I'm going to tell you in real time, too, that there's no way I can withhold my judgment on that.
No, you got to withhold it so we can go through it.
All right, Jolly Ranchers, Tootsie Rolls, candy corn, the mini Snickers, and the mini Reese's Pieces.
All right, we're going to go through one at a time. Jolly Ranchers, Lucas, yay or nay?
I mean, it's an okay answer. I have to tell you, I'm really on my back heel, Representative, because I told Dave there was one candy you could say that I was just going to say, all right, you lose this category. Like, that's what I would call the like red button that you could say. Anyway, Jolly Ranchers is fine. Jolly Ranchers good.
Yeah, I'm good. I love Jolly Ranchers, especially the blue ones. So that's a yay on Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
All right, up next, Tootsie Rolls.
A different choice, but nothing wrong with it. When you're in a pinch, nothing goes like a good Tootsie Roll. Do I think it's top 5? No, Representative, I don't. I mean, there's so much amazing candy on the face of the earth, but I'm not going to slight you for that one. But
it's a nay from me on the Tootsie Rolls. No,
Representative. And
always get stuck in my teeth. And maybe I just need to take care of my teeth a little bit better. But I'm going to go with a nay on the Tootsie Roll. All right, candy corn, Lucas.
Never on the face of this earth should candy corn even be in close proximity to a top 5 list, unless the top 5 list is top 5 Halloween candies you should immediately throw in the garbage.
Maybe it should be illegal. Maybe somebody should make them illegal, huh?
They're just wax and sugar. I mean, but I guess most candies are just wax and sugar, right? But no, I agree on the candy corn. That's a nay from me. All right, you need to get these last 2 right in order to get the point. All right, so we have mini Snickers. I'll tell you right off the bat, that's a winner. That's like a top.
That's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Just say that twice next time and not candy corn.
All right, and then the last one was Reese's Pieces. You talking about the little Reese's cups or the Skittle kind of things?
No, the little cups.
The little cups.
Yeah. Whether it's the cups, whether it's the Skittles thing, those are both in both first ballot Hall of Famers. So you have passed round 1. Congratulations.
You got a point.
Out of all of the amazing things you could do, you can probably move this one at least close to 1.
Despite the fact that you said the worst candy in the world, you did get the point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a gritty victory. It was almost like he went down like 5-2 right before halftime and came back and won it. It was pretty good. But
there you go.
You were playing with fire, Representative. You were.
All right, category number 2.
Going based off of your Instagram profile where you said heart emoji, New Mexico beer emoji, and taco emoji. What are your top 5 favorite New Mexico beers?
Oh, man. All right. I'm going to rank them for you. Number 5 is the Marble Red.
All right.
Number 4 is the Tractor Ripsaw IPA.
Okay.
Number 3 is the Bow and Arrow Denim Lager, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Number 2
Mm-hmm.
is the Tractor Blood Orange Cider.
Introducing cider to a beer conversation. Bold.
And number 1 is the Tractor New Mexico Lager.
All right. Let's go through these one by one.
Yep.
So number 5, I had a lot easier time remembering all of the candies than I did all the beers. Number 5 was
the red from Marble.
The Marble Red. I can tell you right now, that's a top 5 for me too. I love the Marble Red. That's a great
Desert Island beer. We'll play that game sometime too, Representative, where you have 1 6-pack and it can never change, but it constantly replenishes on your desert island. Marble Red is in that for me every time.
That's the best. Marble makes a lot of great beer. In my opinion, that's their best beer. I love that beer.
It's good. It's good in the can. It's good out of the draft. That's a winner across the board.
Yeah. All right. Number 4, I believe you said was the Ripsaw IPA. Is that right?
That's correct.
My vote does not count here because I do not drink IPAs. Lucas, you can make the decision on this.
I'm going to give this one to you just because I know where your Tractor love is coming from, right? Like your whole vicinity is pretty much triangulated by downtown Tractor and Tractor Wells Park. And so it would seem like it would converge on you there. So I see a lot of Tractor love. They've also done an amazing amount of community events, and really bad IPA is like bad pizza. Even if it's not the best, it's still pretty good.
No, bad IPA is like bad goulash. It's just IPAs in general are not good, and then you make it bad.
Why you gotta take shots at goulash?
That's actually I like goulash more than I like IPAs. All right, number 3. What was it? Was that the cider?
No, number 2 was the cider, which is bananas. But number 3 is a lager. It's a Bow and Arrow, and for me, this one's absolutely a yes. Bow and Arrow has never made a bad beer. Literally. I don't know.
So
about
that
you,
was number
Dave.
3.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you lagging on me? I just had a humongous rant that you didn't get. Man, it's in digital space. Anyway, I was saying Bow and Arrow has never made a bad beer. The Bow
That
and
is
Arrow
accurate.
lager is thumbs up from me.
Yep, that's an A from me as well. Big fan of that beer. One of my favorite. Actually, I'll leave this because Lucas, we should say our favorites at the end of each category. We can go back and do these. But
That
one
was
of my
good
favorite.
pre-production by us, Dave. We couldn't have at all talked about that before we did the podcast.
Yeah. Well, the Bow and Arrow lager gets an A for me. That's a great beer. All right, now we're getting into the cider. You said the blood orange cider at Tractor, correct?
That's delicious. The best.
So introducing cider into a beer conversation was risky.
Very.
I'm not a cider person in general, but Tractor's ciders are great. Particularly the blood orange cider is the best one. So I'm going to say yes on this.
I think in fairness, you deferred on an IPA question earlier and said you just had no grounds to be in there. I would never threaten bodily harm against the representative, but I do say I did want to give him a sturdy sleeper hold when he said a cider in our beer conversation. That's neither here nor there. If you give it a thumbs up, he is 4 for 4.
It's probably the best cider in town, and it's really good. It's
I'll
really
take
good.
your word for it.
No doubt.
All right, and then number 1 representative was
New Mexico Lager, Tractor Brewery.
Lucas. Your thoughts on Tractor's New Mexico lager?
You know what? I have not had enough of that beer to have an opinion one way or the other. So I'm going to say based off of him going for Brendan, me and you have been close for a long time. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Brendan Kearns is in here in the comments listening audience, and he's saying, I agree with David. There are no good IPAs.
He's right.
Brendan, please come and find me at the next game. You and I are just going to chat about some things, and those things are going to be, I'm going to revoke every piece of New Mexico United merchandise you have.
That's not true, Brendan. You have my protection.
How dare you disparage IPAs, Brendan? I thought we were close. Anyway, I've not had enough of that, and you went 4 for 4 on the other ones, so you're the winner. You done won this one.
All right.
There you go. All right, so let's follow that up. Lucas, just your number 1 New Mexico beer. Go.
Right, as of right now, I cannot miss with Mass Ascension Elevated IPA.
Okay.
I'm
All
sorry,
right. Yeah.
with Mass Ascension IPA. I just combined 2 beers.
I just thought you were saying 2 beers. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Elevated is very close up in there without the ranking. Geez Louise, everything Bosque does is amazing.
Yes. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Elephant's another great beer.
If I had
Elephants
to
is
pick
good.
one, if you said you have to pick one that's not an IPA, I think I'd probably go either Elephants on Parade or Marble Red. And then, geez Louise, I'm trying to think through here. Everything they do with Oktoberfest, it's so seasonal right now. New Mexico breweries do the Oktoberfest Marzen so good.
Yep, they do. So my top 2 are both seasonals. So my top non-seasonal is the Marble Red. I love the Marble Red. But my top overall, like I said, both seasonals. One of them was the Bow and Arrow Pastry Slayer they did last year. It was a pastry marzipan stout. It was so good.
Guys,
so good.
Dave, real quick, can I make a quick amendment to my list? I just received a text from my highest advisor.
Yeah.
It was 4 words, and it was Boxing Bear, you jerk. And she's 100% right. How could I ever leave out Boxing Bear? Again, amazing work out there. That's why I didn't want to do the top 5 list on my side, Dave, because they'd be like, your top 5 list is 27 beers. And I'm like,
that's right.
That's the best I can do.
There you go. Brendan has amended. He said there are very few good IPAs. I forgot about Mass Ascension. So there actually is a local IPA that I like, and it's actually Dr. Strange Hop from Bosey Brothers. It's actually really good.
I love me some Bosey Brothers.
But my other favorite, which is also seasonal, is the Pumpkin Noir from Marble. I think that's really good. And it's out right now. Really great. All right, and then Lucas, go ahead.
Brendan just keeps puncturing us in the side with these punches he's hitting on us. Dylan, give me that one more time. Yes, we would be remiss if we did not talk about Ex Novo's amazing Golden Ale. Again, I am a prisoner of the moment. We are moving into fall time beers. That is a summertime beer for me. But my goodness, it's good. Congratulations, Brendan. You got me again.
All right, and then number 1, just one Halloween candy for you, Lucas.
The best?
Yeah.
Any Reese's product. I don't care what it is. I steal so many of them. The kids already know. They have a tax and they know, like, just start grabbing Reese's products and let him have what he wants.
That's a good call. Mine is controversial, and I don't care. Fight me if you want. Hershey's Cookies and Cream. Let's go.
At him. I actually knew that from the dessert survey I made you guys fill out.
It's the best one.
Iron Man is getting active over there. What's Iron Man's favorite candy, Representative?
What's your favorite candy, Iron Man?
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
That's I love that. That's outside of the box. That's a winner.
It's a broader definition of candy, but it works, and we'll allow it because we're nonsensical.
All right, last category. Let's make it quick, Lucas.
Baseball fan. You are a baseball fan. Top 5 baseball teams to hate.
Oh, easy. New York Yankee. Well, okay. No, top 5 baseball teams to hate. So the New York Yankees, the Houston Astros, the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, you're really loving this World Series then.
Yeah, it's the best. The Tampa Bay Rays, because Tampa Bay Rays.
That's
Why?
so random.
Right.
All the other ones are like such huge marquee hate teams, but the Rays.
I know. It's a terrible bully move on my part. And I would say
Producer Dylan is offended. He is a baseball lover.
And the number 5 is the San Francisco Giants as a dog.
Okay.
fan.
Okay, so you did that in upwards order. So Yankees, absolute worst team. Astros, Braves, the Tampa Bay Rays for some reason, and then the Giants.
Well, I can tell you right now, your 1, 2, and 3 are all correct. I hate the Yankees. I hate the Braves. And after the whole Stein stealing thing, everybody has to hate the Astros. You've won. You
have won, but you have not got out of 1 minute of going just 1 minute further into why you hate the Tampa Bay Rays.
I just they're so good at all the sports lately. And
yeah.
I feel like it's Tampa Bay. Like, who lives there?
Something in the water.
I mean, come on, right?
Do you dislike the Tampa Bay Rays because Tom Brady plays for the Buccaneers?
Pretty much.
I mean, I if you don't hate Tom Brady, I don't want you on my podcast.
That's the only way I got in. I had to text earlier today that I hated Tom Brady.
There you go.
We forgot to bump this at the beginning, Dave, but this has been the Cinnamon Cafe Wrap It Up section. I'm sure they probably appreciate us not bumping that at the beginning because they're like, we don't want our name really close to any of that. But they have been wonderful. We love them. What have we punched? Approximately 230 burrito cards since they unleashed those things?
Yeah. I at some point they're going to stop giving me cards because I just punch through all of them and just get more and more and more and more. So thank you for the free burritos that I have earned. I have earned them. They were not given to me.
That's the point of the punch card. But yeah, they've been wonderful. Give them a follow on their social media channels. They always have something cool going on, and they have a fun food truck that travels about. We also didn't do this at the beginning, but I guess that's just because we're a little bit rusty. It's been a minute, and we've got a bunch of San Diego sun on us. But for those of you that are in the podcast realm, definitely like, subscribe, or I guess it's called following now. Subscribe, rate, help us get the word out there. Again, nobody should miss this conversation with Representative Martinez. Nobody should. Everyone should be able to listen to what it is this man does, because I think this is so much more valuable than any sort of the typical coverage we see around who these individuals are. You, sir, are a New Mexican through and through. You are an advocate for our community. I am proud that you are associated with this organization, and I'm proud to see what you're going to continue to do moving forward.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a lot of fun, and I try to watch you as much as I can.
Don't do that. You have more important
to this playoffs.
Let's get in the playoffs this Saturday. Representative Martinez, thank you so much. And Lucas, we got a big game on Saturday. Massive 3 points on the line to get us into the postseason. But until then, somos unidos.